Yeah, I guess what are we watching today? I don't know if there's anything else to start with right now. I think I had a thought.
Do you want me to wait and see if the thought comes back?
Let's take a quick moment to see it. Let me tumble the thoughts around that I was thinking about. It might have had something. Oh, it was I think an upcoming question of the week. And
Okay.
this might be too there might not be enough answers. But it might be it might be something like if you could have any pet animal from Star Trek. But the answer is tribbles.
Actually, it's not.
Okay.
My answer is not tribbles, just because of the spawning in new tribbles. I don't want to deal with that.
No, that's very bad. Is it the
Yeah.
Klingon pig dog?
No, it's literally Spot. I
Oh,
want
Spot.
Data's cat.
Oh, okay.
It's
That's
it's it's. I've always wanted his cat. His cat was adorable. I didn't have a cat growing up, so it's always something I wanted. You know?
oh, Spot is such a good cat though.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, well, great, man. Yeah, I was thinking obviously of various races of animals,
Yeah.
but
No, you asked me what pet I want. That's
no,
my pet.
that's
I want
fair.
Spot.
Spot is so great. The ode to Spot is the best thing that happens on Star Trek.
Yeah. He's so cute. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
But
I
yeah.
mean, I
So
don't. I don't think that's going to be the question for the Gary Mitchell for where no man has gone before. But
no, I
we
feel
should
that's a good
say
one for the Trouble with Tribble episode. Actually.
it is a good one for Trouble with Tribbles. We're coming up on an episode that has a little unicorn dog in it.
Oh, it does have the unicorn dog soon, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's when Kirk gets. It might be the enemy within. Yep, he splits into his good and evil selves. Real cartoon shit. Real
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck shit. Yeah. And they figure it out because there's a mean little unicorn dog.
So one thing that you could do as a possible question for where no man has gone before, as I'm thinking about things, is like because this one here, both of them are all like someone's got incredible power and misuses said power.
The two episodes we've just watched.
Charlie
Or-
X and where no man has
Yeah,
gone before
that's what
are
I'm.
both
We haven't watched
misuse
No
of
Man yet.
power episodes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it could be something like what's the greatest misuse of power in the show, in your opinion?
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I'll make a note of that. Yeah, because that's a good follow up. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I like that one. And we'll save pets for it. Could be the triples. We'll see. There might be some. It might. Maybe I'll ask about if people can come up with an example of some other TV show where someone gets split into their good and evil halves. But we'll see. That's
Oh man,
episode
no,
five.
there's so many.
Yeah.
Because even Community did like an entire episode where they had the stupid goatees and everything because it was the darkest timeline.
Yeah. But there's a lot of good and evil versions of it. It's it's a fun
Yeah.
trope to fall back on occasion. And even and I'm even thinking more of like sitcoms and shows that would kind of mock the trope. Like Community. But they even do the fucking goatees. I mean, that's man, when are we going to see the mirror universe?
How's it keep saying? I have no idea. I do not remember the order of the episodes at all. And 9 times out of 10, I don't actually I don't think I've actually seen this episode before.
Are you familiar with the Corbomite maneuver?
I mean, it sounds vaguely familiar, but there's so much technobabble in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh man, well, first of all, the thumbnail of the Corbomite maneuver is Kirk with no shirt on doing the wall pedals the wall pedals I was
Yep,
talking
the one
about.
that you like a lot. Yeah.
Like, I just think they're so weird. Like, someone thought that was real futuristic, like stress test. So, what facts do you have about Where No Man Has Gone Before, the third episode that was aired and the actual re-pilot?
Yeah, so I've actually done a little bit of reading today. It looks like The Cage was pitched, didn't do very well, so they pitched this instead. And then this got the whole show going and then got aired as the third episode. Instead of as the actual pilot. I don't know why they didn't put it as the actual pilot, but they didn't. So it's Where No Man Has Gone Before, directed by James Goldstone. Samuel A. Peoples, Peeples, was the one who did the writing for it.
Okay.
And its initial air date was September 22nd, 1966, with a 7.7 rating on IMDb.
All right. These have pretty good ratings.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing a dip from what I've seen. We do start seeing a bit of a dip later into the season, but the early part they kept some pretty good quality stuff out.
Now, I've definitely seen this one, but I really don't have, other than like Gary Mitchell and his weird eyes and kind of the vibe of this one, I don't really remember what happens at all.
The synopsis we're given on IMDb is, quote, the flight recorder of the 200-year-old USS Valiant relays a tale of terror, a magnetic storm at the edge of the galaxy, end quote. Wow. I don't remember this episode. I don't think I've ever actually seen this one specifically. I only know of Gary Mitchell because of Strange Energies. I think it was a season 3 pilot. First episode of season 3 for Lower Decks, where they had that happen to them, and Sean mentioned it to me, like, oh, Gary Mitchell, like, he was on the original series. I'm like, okay.
They talk about Gary Mitchell.
They do. I didn't know it. It was a throwaway, and he was super jazzed by this throwaway line about Gary Mitchell.
Great. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so much fun about that show.
Yeah. But no, some of the pictures, it looks like it is straight up or very close to the cage in costuming. And even by star date, it's actually the star date for this one here is in the 1300s. The last 2 episodes were both in the 1500s. So we are going back in time a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And this is another Special Powers episode.
Yep.
We'll see how much they get misused, but certainly not in the interpersonal kind of way that Charlie's powers were misused. I feel like this is I feel like he's just going to be like, I'm God, so fuck everyone, which isn't entirely different.
No, it really isn't. But I mean, it does, I hope, mean that it won't be quite as now. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit more on the campy side.
This will be a little more fantasy than last week.
Yeah.
This is kind of a Q episode. There's a particular TOS episode that some people are like, that is straight up a Q episode. They just don't say the word Q. But this one's close.
Okay.
Is it Gary Ransom? Is that the character played by the kid from Stand By Me?
I don't know. I can look it up and we can review it after the episode is done if you'd like.
We'll find out who Gary Ransom. Gary Ransom, I think, is the first officer on the Cerritos. He's the blonde guy that gets turned. Jack Ransom.
Jack Ransom.
Yeah. Gary Mitchell and Jack Ransom. Yes.
Yep. Jack Ransom is played by O'Connell. So yeah, he is the kid from one of the kids from Stand By Me.
Yep. All right, let's do it. Hello, and welcome back to The Least Ready Room, a podcast where Dave and Chris, I'm Dave, take a look at Star Trek. Every episode of Star Trek, as many episodes of Star Trek that we will be able to watch during the remaining portions of everyone's life here on Earth. So, this is episode 4 of that project. I've forgotten the number. I believe it was in the 900 area of the amount of pieces of media we will have to consume for this project. This is the 4th piece. This is Where No Man Has Gone Before, which is the 2nd pilot of this TV show and also the 4th episode to air. Well, that's not entirely correct either. It was the 3rd to air because one of them never aired. But it was what was pitched as the 2nd pilot, which got picked up. And our guest today is Saint, so we're going to talk to him for a few minutes before we do the full scene-by-scene unpacking with Chris after that. And yeah, we're going to have Saint is going to be on an upcoming episode doing the full unpacking along Chris and I. And that's exciting. That'll be episode, 6 of the podcast, which is... The evil within, the enemy within, the one with the little dog that we talked about. That's a totally fair excuse. I have pressed the button and I'm recording.
Cool.
This one is where no man has gone before. Do you know which one?
Yeah.
Do you know what happens?
Yeah, I know what happens in this one. This is the actual pilot.
Yes,
Cage.
that's correct. Yeah. Or not the salt vampire, or the man trap, rather.
Right, exactly. Well, not that one either, but also not the cage, because so much changed from the cage to this one. The captain changed.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry, but
everybody.
Looking at this as the pilot following the cage. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but literally, this was the second pilot because the first pilot bombed, and they were like, "Nope, we're not going to make that."
Yeah.
And the production company like pushed real hard to make a second pilot and get a second pilot in front of the studio execs
for 2 years. They made this. Yeah.
Yeah. Lucille Ball was pretty instrumental in that, apparently, which is super cool. This is what got made. This is what I always thought of as the first episode, because that was the order it was in my mom's VHS tapes, and I guess that's like the production order. And again, this was supposed to be the pilot, the first episode of the Captain Kirk Enterprise.
And it's it's kind of the same story as, maybe not entirely, but it's it's very similar to the episode we watched last week.
It's pretty similar to Charlie X, yeah. Corrupted by absolute power. I think you said it last time. It's pretty much the same, except without the 17-year-old sexual undertones.
He's got these contexts that they had him wear.
It's been a really long time since I've seen this one too.
Okay, yeah, he looks really strange, and it's because they made him wear these big. They made him wear these terrible contacts that were very uncomfortable, and they were like. It was like two lenses with like very thin, I'm going to say aluminum foil, but I don't mean like aluminum foil from the kitchen, but like, yo!
What's up, weebs?
I'm talking about how they stuck aluminum in this guy's eyes for this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, even without that special effect, I don't think there was such a thing as comfortable contact lenses in 1966.
Oh, yeah? That's actually, I did not even consider whether or not that was a thing that existed.
I don't know. I'm just making an assumption. Shit, man. Last time I wore contacts was like 20 years ago. I decided at some point that I'm like, no, wearing glasses looks fine on me. I'm not going to be vain and be like, I can't wear glasses. And I realized living in New York, I would get home at the end of the day every single day, and my eyes would be like full of grit.
Ooh.
And the contacts would be like kind of painful to get out. And sometimes I would forget. Sometimes I forget to take them out right away, or I didn't want to take them out right away, and then I smoke weed, and then my eyes would get really dry.
Oh boy!
With contacts in, and eventually I was just like, you know what, screw this. I'm just gonna get a nice pair of glasses, go back to just wearing glasses.
Jeez.
And I haven't gone back to that since. I'm trying to remember when I quit wearing contacts completely. It must have been like 2010 or 2008 or something like that.
Well, it sounds awful. Everything about it sounds awful.
Yeah.
So they did this to this guy in 1966.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Yeah. And I think in general the consensus is that, any kind of colored contacts, and especially any kind of special effects contacts, are just like so fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah. You'll see that he has like two little tiny black hole, or like one little black hole in each contact that he's trying to see out of, and that's why his head is always at a bizarre angle. You'll see the little holes, you can see them move around like when he blinks and stuff. Anyway.
Okay, we'll see.
Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I was horrified just because someone told me about this, so I had to think about his contacts the whole time I watched it. So here you go.
Priest started in Ireland for automatic intensity. He must have gotten.
I'm going to be thinking about my old contacts the whole time.
I'm going to be thinking about your old contact.
She was taken from me.
Official losses. Dr. Elizabeth Dana. Be it noted she gave her life in performance of a duty. Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell. Same notation. I want his service record to end that way. He didn't ask for what happened.
Yeah, they were real extra about Spock's eyebrows in this one.
I believe there's some hope for you after all, Mr. Spock.
Also, he's got green tint.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a yellowish green tint, yeah.
Well, it's that same color as his sweater.
Yeah, so how did you guys like the story of Gary Mitchell?
It's a little repetitive after Charlie X.
Yeah, odd choice to put these two right in a row.
Yeah. I mean, there's a different vibe.
Yeah, totally.
The whole Gary Mitchell and Dr. I keep wanting to call her Dr. Dahmer. Like Jeffrey
Dahmer, but yeah. Dahmer.
Dr. Dahmer and Mitchell, they're like growing exponentially, geometrically, or whatever. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess if I was them, I would have been like, yeah, just drop me off by myself on this planet. It's cool, James. And,
yeah, really. I mean,
doesn't matter because, like, in about 5 days, I will probably be able to warp out of here by myself without a spaceship.
Seems that way, and it's not like you're gonna die on this planet. You can make fruit, and it's almost like old Light Turner, who could have just stopped and left and reconvened and still had all of his power and started over anywhere else.
Yeah, but I guess James Kirk accurately identified that Mitchell was not doing that. Mitchell was not just being like, oh, I got all this power, but I'm going to be chill about it. He was starting to be a dick about it.
And I guess maybe we all feel like we would be so chill, and maybe we would all find
that we were horrible dicks.
That we were horrible dicks all along.
Yeah. That self-reflection we want to make.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason that I think that there are sort of like historical figures or myths or something about people who like gain great power and then willingly give it up.
Yeah, like Riker.
Being you holding these people up as paragons, and then like in American history, George Washington is one of those people, not to say that there was everything nice and good about George Washington, but
he was unable to tell lies.
The national
myth,
well
known for.
Right. Well, the national myth, at least, which became a kind of norm, was that presidents don't stay president for too long.
Sure.
And one of the things they called him was the American Cincinnatus, and that's a reference back to like this old Roman figure called Cincinnatus. And like back in Roman times, when like the city of Rome was threatened and they thought they were all going to die, they would appoint a dictator for a 6-month term.
Okay.
And it was always like a desperate move because they were always worried that, you know, the dictator would just consolidate power and keep it for a long 6 months.
That's why they stabbed, you know, the guy. That
is why they stabbed Julius Caesar, yeah. But like they held up as a sort of paragon of virtue this guy named Cincinnatus because they gave him the dictatorship like repeatedly because he was such a good general. They like pulled him out of retirement on his farm, and he went and he defeated the barbarians, then went back to his farm. You know, and he's like, I don't want my absolute power. I just want to, you know, I'll do it to save my country or do the thing I need to do, but then I'm going to give it up and go back to, you know, living a peaceful life. At least that's, and again, you know, these are the myths that, you know, cultures tell.
Yep.
You know, but yeah, how many people are going to actually do that? And I guess that's the idea is like, well, it's like it happens very few times that somebody's got a lot of power and willingly gives it up. So when it happens, you kind of make a big deal out of it.
Right.
Gary Mitchell did not give it up.
Gary Mitchell was like, "This is great. I'm in charge. Fuck you."
Yes. You're an insect. He probably shouldn't have said that to them.
Yeah, he read his mouth real quick. He was like, "I know Spock's thinking about murdering me, you fucking Vulcan." Boy, they were really pushing the Spock is a cold-blooded alien in this pilot.
Yeah, and then he probably shouldn't have said like, "Yeah, you should kill me." You probably should listen to Spock and kill me real fast.
Yeah, he should not have said that.
He should not have said that.
He really could have just... Yeah, I mean, and this is almost like... Whatever happens to them near the barrier that gives them these powers, it really almost is just like...
Does it also remove...
It removes some kind of... there's a word I'm looking for... that I don't have, but it's, you know, people talk about you get drunk and your inhibitions.
Yeah.
Like he's drunk on power, and he's just like, you know what? It doesn't matter. And even when he's talking to Dr. Denner in the end, he's talking about how they are insects and they don't matter, and he should say whatever he wants to them. Yeah. Drunk on power.
Yeah.
Can't handle his power.
Can't handle. Yeah, exactly.
There's some funny things in this episode, such as Spock mentioning that one of his ancestors is human.
Yes.
Instead of his mom.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. We also have Dr. Piper, who maybe was going, and that is actually, I think he might only be in that seat, because when Gary Mitchell's down on the sick bay, we never see Dr. Piper. It's Dr. Denner checking on him, but I feel like Dr. Piper was going to be the doctor, but in the next production episode, they've got Dr. McCoy.
Yeah. I wanted to look up all the different women who have played Spock's mom.
I bet there's a bunch, because there's been a bunch of Spocks.
Jane Wyatt, Majel Barrett, voice only.
Whoa.
Cynthia Blaze, Mia Kirchner, and Winona Ryder is Amanda Grayson alternate reality version. They stick everything.
Yep.
Stick
everything
all
in
of
those movies are an alternate reality.
And I mean,
which makes it all canon.
The hilarious thing is they can say, yeah, it's just an alternate reality. They did a multiverse before. Before anybody thought it was cool. Wait until we get to Mirror Mirror. That's in the first season, I think.
Well, is a mirrored universe a multiverse? It's an indication of a multiverse. Does someone say, I'm sure there are an infinite number of universes out there and we just got the evil one?
I think somebody might say something to that effect. Oh, it's in the second season, sorry. Mirror Mirror.
It's pretty, definitely
long.
Just the idea of alternate universes. 1966, 67, that's early to be talking about alternate universes.
Yeah, for sure.
He also, there was even, because there's like Discovery Spock. There's a Spock's mom in Discovery. There's Spock and Spock's mom have appeared many times, portrayed by many actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, including those alternate. Yeah, Winona Ryder, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Although honestly, I guess I think of the original one who was in which movies? Jane Wyatt. Which movies was she in that I saw?
Probably like 2 and 3. Probably.
Oh, right.
Maybe
No,
3 would have had a Spock's mom.
No, she's in Star Trek 4.
Oh.
She's the Voyage Home, but she's actually also in TOS in the second season.
Oh, wow. As Spock's mom, or?
Yeah, as Spock's mom, and then they brought her back for Star Trek 4. But I mean, yeah. This is now she's 96 years old. Oh no, she died in 2006 at 96 years old.
Oh, okay.
She's an old lady. She was born in 1910.
Wow. Imagine being born in 1910. That would have been really cool. I would have liked to live my entire life before the internet came around.
It'd be different for sure. This is the image I have of Spock's mom a lot of times, besides Winona Ryder. I think that's her in Star Trek 4.
Oh, yeah, totally. That is, yeah. Yeah, Star Trek 4. Yeah, I guess.
That was the whales.
No, I mean, I know it was the whales, but all I can think of is like the 80s. I can't think of the book ending and what actually happens in, the 23rd century or whatever.
Yeah, they spent a little bit of time in the 23rd century doing stuff, and I forget what context they actually meet his mom in.
Yeah, but I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have guessed 3. I mean, is she definitely not in 3 or?
No, she's not in 3. She's in 4. The action in Star Trek 3 happens all around like the Genesis planet, basically.
Okay. I can't wait to watch those again, by the way.
Yeah, those movies are good. Well, the first movie's not so good.
It's something, though. It's something.
Yeah, it sure is something. There's that old joke about only the even numbered Star Trek movies are good.
That's right. I heard something about the theme from the motion picture being at least very similar to the theme from TNG. Like they basically reused most of what was in the... I don't know. I don't know who told me that or what kind of anecdotal thing it is.
Well, yeah, I mean... the TOS theme and the TNG theme are different, but like when you listen to them side by side, you can like they have like some similar cues in them, and they have like some similar notes and stuff. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, yeah, they have like the same feeling to them. They're obviously come from like 2 versions of the same TV show. So,
how about that real dramatic fight scene with Palpatine powers and Gary getting betrayed, and that laser rifle is a hell of a prop, by the way.
Yeah, Kirk's shirt getting ripped off and his face getting all bloodied.
Classic.
Kirk gets the crap kicked out of him, thrown in his own grave. James R. Kirk's grave.
James R. Kirk, yeah. Whoever. I think my headcanon is going to be that Gary didn't know what his middle name was.
Yeah, he just figured. He's like, was it R? Like,
or maybe he thought.
Maybe it's Richard? I forget, dude.
Right. Whatever. Yeah. No, and like it's a little bit of a jab that he doesn't even remember. I don't even really know this. James R. Kirk. Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they actually go around to say his middle initial or his middle name again until like the movies.
Could be. I have no idea.
I think that through the whole TOS, they just say James Kirk. They never throw his middle name or initial out there.
I can't wait to like have seen all of this and know some of these things, like when certain things came about, which is why I'm paying attention to like, first time we see a prisoner behind a force field and stuff.
Yeah, this is first time we see the consoles explode.
Yeah, and on the whole bridge on fire and filled with smoke. Like really, and I commented on it that you like. Very rarely see a starship filled with smoke on like TNG or anything after this, basically.
Well, in TNG and DS9, they still have the exploding consoles, but not so much
like
the
flaming, open flames and...
Yeah, exactly. Not so much an open flame as it is just like a shower of sparks, you know, and like an electric crackle. I think, you know, again, that's probably like fits the aesthetic of the time better, and the whole like, you know, the whole like sleek touchscreen,
yep,
you know, future that TNG is, as opposed to sort of like the clunky analog period of TOG.
Buttons and wires that are obviously making the TOS bridge.
Yeah, lots of wires, lots of buttons and switches and dials, lots of specialized displays.
1960s beeping future.
Right, exactly. Like, I think about displays sometimes, like in those contexts, like a display designed to show one thing.
Oh yeah.
Like that's impossible to think of nowadays. Like, if you're gonna have a screen, of course it's gonna be a multi-purpose screen.
Yep.
It's gonna be like a cell phone screen, or like if you want it low power, maybe like a Kindle or something. But
not like Gary's microfiche that he was reading books on tape.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, I guess like the conceptions of computers, even at this time,
didn't even.
I mean, I don't know. There's computer stuff, and even in TNG too, that makes me as a computer person like cringe and just be like, no, that's not how computers work. But okay, whatever.
I love on TNG and a couple. You see this on DS9, maybe not as much on Voyager, but someone will have been doing some research on something, and he'll have a stack of like 5 iPads, because like I guess he had to download one article to each iPad or whatever.
Yeah, I guess one iPad wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you need multiple screens.
Yeah, sure.
It's like a late 90s or 2000s movie visual cue. If somebody's got like computer,
bunch of monitors with a bunch of numbers all over them. Yeah.
That means they're either like some kind of finance wizard or a hacker.
There's a bunch of like maps of the world with like dots and lines going around.
Yeah. They're like some kind of crazy spy master or something like that. Yeah, that's just a visual cue. Oh man, how about the Esper potential of humans?
Yeah, something we don't really see anymore, I think.
Something that never comes back. Yeah. I mean, not never comes back. Occasionally. Well, and I think they talk about it a little bit more in TNG, but maybe they talk about it in TOS too a little bit more after this. But basically, I think we talked about it before, but it's like, and I think they even kind of say it in passing here, like humans don't really. Even humans with like quote unquote high Esper potential don't really do like real psychic shit. Like that's not a thing.
It's weird that they have like a rating and you can look up like their Starfleet, history or credentials or files or whatever and see what their Esper rating is. That I think that doesn't get mentioned, but it could in TOS and I might not know about it.
Yeah, like it's been scientized.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I don't think they've done to humans, like in TNG.
Studied scientific. Yeah, it's been like studied scientifically or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the excuse that they give later on. Yeah, I mean, but but later on they have explicitly telepathic things like Beta Z and Vulcans and like half a dozen other fucking races with other kinds of like empathy or telepathy.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a thing, and they don't really talk about it all that much as like a science thing or like a systemized thing. It just happens. Like it's like a fucking plot device for Troy to be like, I feel their pain, or I sense their anger.
Now I don't feel anything at all, and I'm really upset about it.
Yeah, they're gone. What's happened? Or like, there's nothing here, but I sense something here, Captain.
Right. Yeah.
It's a plot device, But yeah,
there's a whole quadrant or something or not quadrant, but a whole area of a sector of the Delta Quadrant where all psychic aliens are forbidden. Talk to you soon, weebs. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. And I guess, they assume it's systematized, and I think they'd pretty much come out and say, at least, again, I'm not sure how much they say it in TOS or how much is systematized later, but they're just like, yeah, humans bad at telepathy.
Okay. Yeah,
It happens once in a while where they get like a little bit, or someone's born like right at the edge of the bell curve where they're
Right,
like,
yeah.
but it's like even like the most psychic human ever is gonna be like really crappy compared to a Beta Z.
I feel like there is some instance. I feel like there's like well, maybe I'll encounter it as I'm rewatching everything, but I feel like there's at least an instance of some human having some small ability other than
I think so, and again I think it comes up like in some episodes, but it's never.
And it's almost just it's almost like something that everyone's kind of like, yeah, that's a thing, but it's not a big deal. No one really cares.
Yeah,
really interesting.
It's real interesting because like some of the implications of telepathy and that kind of thing are really crazy, but they Star Trek never goes too far with it, and they're just like, no, ultimately it's just like talking without moving your lips and not much more. Or seeing whatever memories are convenient out of another person.
Yeah, it's something that would be totally world changing if it were to occur right now.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they kind of like, it's almost like if someone on Star Trek like
well, I mean, I guess we'll talk about it more when we meet up with Luxwana, Troy, and Bidizes and TNG, but I guess
we'll find out more about it.
Don't they say something like well, they have a very different conception of privacy, first of all?
I think they do, yeah.
They just don't have as many of the nasty impulses as humans, I guess. I guess if you're broadcasting all the time,
your culture becomes very different. Yeah,
your culture becomes very different, and the people are raised in very different ways, and like you evolve in a different way. Like the literal evolution of the brain must be happening. Something different must be happening. Anyway, but yeah, they don't really delve into it like a whole super lot. Like you think like it would like sort of have huge implications.
Yeah, you would think it would, but maybe it's something that happened and humanity got over it, and they're just like, okay, whatever. That was cool in 2050.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's impressed.
Star Trek is also full of like one-off technological wonders that people pull out of their asses to like save the Enterprise or some
that you
planet
never hear about again.
Like once, and you think about the implications for it for a little while, and you're like, shouldn't that really be a big
Wesley fucking creates life.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, let's just leave it on this empty planet. Love that.
I was going to say Data, but actually they spend a lot of time really delving into Data in really thoughtful and interesting ways when it comes to like Data, that episode where like Data is going to get taken apart by somebody.
Oh yeah. And man, that's my answer for the abuse of power.
Yeah, Data,
the measure of a man.
Data builds a kid. Data's got a twin brother who's crazy and evil. Data gets emotions. Data like is destroyed and rebuilds himself. Like he goes through some shit. And I haven't even seen Picard, so I know he's like changed even more when he by the time
he's so many Datas in Picard.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
And I think, and it's interesting with him because there they actually take the time to think like, okay, no, Data is not just like a robot. Like you think of like, oh, what does it mean to like have a sentient robot and copy it and recopy it and reboot it from backup. Because he becomes such a deep and interesting character, people writing about him actually stop to think about it. And that's why all these interesting stories have been written about Data in TNG. Anyway, we're getting
there are a lot of interesting stories about Data. Number X out of 10 for this one, Saint.
Oh, for
Not Measure of a Man. Where no man has gone before.
Where no man has gone before. Honestly, like a 7. I don't know why I'm rating it lower than Charlie X.
It's a little less intense than Charlie X. It's a little less scary. It's a little less than Charlie X, I think.
Yeah,
and there's a big action scene in this one. But please.
Yeah, and I think just I don't know, the way the actor playing Gary Mitchell, like,
poor tormented guy,
just looked like he wanted to claw his fucking eyeballs out the entire
you could just see how irritated he was.
It was a little distracting the way he had to like move his head and face.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't think he really sold me on the whole. Maybe it was partly that. Maybe it was just the whole. He just failed to sell me on the fact that he was becoming all powerful and all cruel at the same time.
Sure. Almost clownishly, like, powerful and cruel. Like, just kind of like being. It's hard to even take him seriously. He's not even very threatening. He doesn't really do much.
Yeah. Whereas Charlie had sort of like
he strangles a guy with a cable.
Yeah, and it's like, but why? Why, like, you could just wait. Like, if you have all this infinite power, doesn't it make more just sense to just be like, okay, guys, you're no threat to me, but you know what? Maybe I've calculated that you are a tiny little threat. So let's just eliminate that by being real nice, because you liked me before, and you don't have to know how much I've changed.
Yeah. He gets... Something about whatever has changed in him is that he just has no inhibition. Or maybe it is that he thinks the humans are so insignificant he can say whatever he wants because who gives a shit? And that's his undoing.
Yeah, whereas Charlie X at least had this sort of believable motivation of like no human contact for his entire life.
Yep.
And like this motivation at least to try to like connect with Yeoman Rand, even if it was in like a fucked up, horrible, bad way, and connect with Kirk as like a sort of like, you know, authority parental figure.
Yeah.
You know? And he was kind of sad in that respect because you're like, oh man, this is a kid who is super psychologically fucked up. Not only from being left alone for his entire life with no human contact, but also having a whole bunch of power. Wow.
And now the only example he's had of any type of social contact is what he's seen in the past like 2 weeks. He has, you know, hasn't even processed what is expected of people.
Yeah. And he's
way more
like,
interesting, Charlie.
He's he to get it. He wants people to like him, and he's failing so terribly. And he has, you know, and it's like the aliens who show up tell him, you know, it's like sorry, he's got no chance.
Yeah, that's it.
We can't take the powers back away from him, so he's got no chance.
They straight up are like, he will never live in human society because he'll always be an asshole.
Yeah. Like, we're sorry, we distorted him, but he's going to be an asshole now, and we got to take responsibility and take him away now. And, yeah, Gary just decides to be an asshole because he's got power now.
Infinite power that is being multiplied infinitely in every second, and, he definitely could just, I mean, who knows how I would behave in such a situation, but I'd like to think that I could just chill out for a few days and eat my weird apples in the desert.
Yeah. And then just be like Dr. Manhattan and contemplate the universe in the silence of your desert and just be like, well, I've evolved past the need to eat these weird apples. I don't even have to make them exist anymore. I can just sit here and hear through like all of the layers of reality with my vast infinite power, or reshape the cosmos or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna kidnap Jeremy Irons and...
Yeah, so I feel like the motivation for Gary being crazy was a little weak.
Unless it was just, unless something about whatever... I keep wanting to call it a virus or something, but it just kind of happens. They just go near the edge and they get zapped, and... Yeah,
there's like a whole shitload of psychic power like hanging out there at the edge of the galaxy, and like going too close to it lets them absorb it. Like a battery or something.
And it makes him drunk and silly and
Drunk with power.
causes him to run his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like maybe if they'd said something like, well, Gary always was kind of an asshole in the first place, or something like that. Just I don't know, to say something like, well, we always knew he was he was a bit of a creep sometimes, or he could be a bit rough sometimes.
Yeah,
so.
not even any of that.
But not
All he
was
was a strong Esper.
Yeah, he was our buddy. He's like, oh, Jim's friend. I was like, I don't want to kill him. I've known him for 15 years. I got him on this ship. We've been buddies since the academy. He set me up with my girlfriend. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I guess that's the weakness of it. We only see him after he's gotten the power. Really, you see him for like about a second and a half before he's gotten his power. He's just sitting there on the bridge talking.
Yep.
And again, maybe it's the watch order.
Yeah, it is kind of. Well, yeah, and you gotta consider that this is the pilot. Like, they 2 years ago was the cage, and this is what they came back and were like, okay, guys, this is the show we have for you. So the show wasn't even in production when this was made. So this is still a little bit separate from everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Like we said, Spock's mom.
Yep, one of my ancestors.
Yeah. It's a cold way to refer to your mom.
And who knows? Maybe he's just so cold and alien that, they're all his ancestors.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll give it about a 7.
Cool. I think that's fair. I feel like I said 6 or 7. This was last week or something when we discussed this, but I feel like I was like, this is okay. I liked some of I like the Salt Vampire the best so far. Before you go, let me ask you about the drumhead. The question of the week was,
oh yeah,
what's your favorite story about an abuse of power? And yeah, I kind of may as well have said, what's your favorite story that has an asshole? The drumhead is the one where someone has like a Romulan grandfather and there's Klingon blood. The Klingon blood has the spy information in it.
There's I forget. Oh man, I don't even remember that. But what I remember is that there's like a warp core breach, but like non-fatal in the Enterprise, and it's determined to be sabotage. And there's like one spy on the ship, and they catch them. But then an admiral shows up and is like, "There must be more," and she starts like interrogating everybody, and she's like a huge asshole to everybody.
Yes, she is.
And she's only stopped because another admiral shows up to be like, okay, what's going on here, right?
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And she's like, Captain Picard is a traitor to the Federation, and he's like, okay, no, you've gone a little too far.
You're drunk on power, lady. Yeah, I think one of the kids, like one of the like ensigns she's interrogating, it like she finds out that like his grandfather was Romulan, so
yeah, exactly.
He must be a spy.
She digs into everything.
Yep.
She digs into everybody. She goes after Worf because she's like, your father was a Romulan collaborator, wasn't he?
Yep.
And she goes after. She finds reasons to be suspicious of like literally everybody in the crew.
Yep. Maybe I'll watch that one again. I've been working through DS9.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, man.
Yes. Have a good night.
Yes, thank you very much to Saint, and also AKA Weebs was here for that one. And I'm not sure if I have a guest next week for the Naked Time. Maybe I'll figure something out. But if someone's interested, they can get at me on Discord. And we got a bonus episode coming up that I'm gonna have that's mostly just gonna be a bunch of short little guest talks about a few different things. We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, after the Naked Time, the following episode, which is The Evil Within, Saint will be joining Chris and I for the full episode scene-by-scene breakdown. And that type of breakdown for the episode we're talking about today, Where No Man Has Gone Before, is going to begin with me and Chris right now. Record.
go.
Okay, so this is the actual pilot, or the actual second pilot, the third episode that we've referred to as a pilot.
It's not at all confusing.
This is the pilot.
Yeah, this is the one that was supposed to be episode 1 after it got greenlit by NBC, I think it was.
Yeah, might have been. I'm not sure exactly where this all began. It had something to do with Lucy.
Yeah, she owned or was one of the deciding people on the board for the company that this got
Whichever
approved
company
by.
this is. Because Paramount is basically the Lucy company. I don't know if it was Paramount at that point, or if... Boy, now this is a whole other thing I'm going to have to look up and do a clarification on next episode.
Okay, so The Cage was originally rejected by NBC, and this was the second pilot. And reportedly, Lucille Ball. This is reading directly off of Wikipedia.
Great,
Lucille Ball,
it.
who owned Desilu Productions, where the pilot was produced, persuaded NBC management to consider a second pilot, thereby exercising a special option agreement it had with Desilu because she liked Gene Roddenberry and believed in the project. The episode was eventually broadcast third in sequence, and it was the first episode to be shown in the UK by the BBC on July 12th, 1969.
Oh.
So there. That's
right. That's
how
Lucy
she's related.
story.
Yep.
Great. Okay, yeah. And and it looks like this episode was absolute hell for the actor that portrays Gary Mitchell.
Yeah, I feel bad for his name is Gary Lockwood. I feel bad. Yeah, I feel bad for him because we were discussing it a little bit while we were watching the episode. He's got these 1960s contacts in, and they're thick, so you could have actually two lenses, and they put aluminum foil in the middle of the two lenses, and then poked a hole through it. So that's why he's looking down his nose at everyone. In addition to just being an arrogant little shit. And yeah, they were hot and uncomfortable, and he hated them. He hated every second of it.
When you describe them as hot, I can't imagine someone putting something in my eye and me an hour later being like, all right, I gotta get them out. My eyes are too hot. My eyeballs are sweating.
I can't imagine having eyes feel temperature that isn't just being outside and it being awful. I live in Canada, right? So we get it cold enough where, no, it's cold and my eyes feel cold and that's awful. And I cannot imagine having a thing in my eye that's doing it instead, you know?
Does anyone ever go outside in Canada and have their eyeballs freeze?
Actually, so depending on where you are, this is a thing that can happen.
Oh boy, I've wanted to know this my whole life. I can't wait.
Okay, so legit truth, my partner used to go to school up north.
Yeah.
And when he was up north, it would sometimes get so cold that he would actually get literal slush in his eyeballs from blinking when outside.
That sounds very upsetting to me.
It sounded upsetting to me, and I'm pretty sure it was upsetting to him while he went through it. I cannot imagine it was comfortable. But yeah, no, you can get if you look online, you'll find pictures of areas in Russia and northern Canada where people get icicles on their eyelashes from being outside too long, just from the humidity of their face. Putting out a little bit of heat in the eyes, having that little bit of wet, and literally it's just freezing on their face. And it's cold enough down here where I'm at. I don't need to be where that happens. That sounds awful. Just literal hell.
So this is a good episode to watch if you're prone to worrying about your eyes and imagining terrible scenarios that might happen to your eyes, like someone putting tinfoil in them.
I do not envy either Gary Lockwood or Sally Kellerman, which is the other doctor.
Dr. Denner.
Yeah.
Is that... Yes.
Yes.
We also have Dr. Piper because we don't have Leonard McCoy yet. Is it Leonard?
Yeah.
Leonard McCoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the history with that is that because this was the second pilot, when they did the first pilot, they weren't fond, from day one, Roddenberry had always wanted DeForest Kelley. So when they didn't have him for the Cage, and then they tried to get him for this, and obviously that didn't happen. So we've had him in the other episodes that were filmed after this was filmed, but the first two episodes, they just did not have the ability to have him in it for whatever reason.
So
and I actually don't have the specifics on that.
Okay, and we have seen him already because we watched The Man Trap and we're watching the broadcast order again.
Yep.
But we'll see him soon enough.
Well, he'll be back next episode, I'm pretty sure.
I have the intended order, at least not in front of me, but I do have. Anyway, that doesn't matter too much. Something that is interesting, right away before we even get into the plot of this about the black box they're trying to find from the 200-year-old ship, which you did some calculating, and you feel that if it's 200 years old, based on dates provided in First Contact, or at least that story.
This episode specifically takes place in 2265, so 200 years ago is 2065. And the First Contact movie takes place in 2063. So this is 2 years after First Contact, when the Valiant has their run-in, I guess, their explosion.
Yeah, so based on that timeline from the late 90s, I would say that they probably had warp ships flying around, but Starfleet was probably not a thing quite yet, but before we even get into the plot with this Valiant ship, which was lost 2 years after First Contact, Spock says something that I found interesting, which is that one of his ancestors was human. He does not say, my mother was human. They didn't know yet.
Yeah, that's probably exactly it.
Yeah. But I think it's neat that, so this would have been, this isn't really, if this was the actual pilot, that would have been the first time, regardless, it's the first time we've seen him mention any kind of human ancestry.
Yeah, but he still got ridiculed a fair amount, too, about being an unfeeling Vulcan, too, so...
Oh, man! Yo, Kirk lets him have it.
It wasn't just Kirk, though. It was the lady Dr. Denner as well. She made a comment about, I know that you Vulcans don't have feelings like us humans, but...
Yeah, you're right. She does. Yeah, right away. She sets it up. That's almost one of the first things she says, because, Spock is...
The one I'm remembering is when they're all sitting around the table in the quote-unquote war room discussing the situation and next steps after Mitchell has started his transformation. I believe specifically they were discussing about the planet that they wanted to leave him on and trying to figure out that plan.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, for some reason I feel like she may have even said something. Oh no, the thing that happened on the bridge is that Gary Mitchell called her a walking refrigeration unit. So she's a little bit cold and emotionless anyway, and then she's and even someone like that will yell at Spock. Kirk says to Spock, "Act like you got a heart."
Yeah. Well, because he was, and I get it. Spock sat down and immediately got kind of cold about the whole situation, about, this is a person who is a friend of the captain who's been on the ship for X length of time. Like, everyone knows him, and he's turning around and basically saying, yeah, he's not worth trying to fix or anything, so there's an empty planet, let's leave him there. He's too dangerous. Spock was being reasonable and looking at the situation as a whole, and no, this isn't something we can deal with. We don't have the ability. We should leave him behind before he kills us, and we go through what the Valiant went through. But also, he's bad at recognizing and empathy. So, yeah. Sure.
Right, yeah. And he, if he sees this as an escalating situation, that he is going to have less and less, that they're all going to have less and less control of the longer they let it go on. And Spock also is aware that the previous ship, the Valiant, that this happened to, the captain eventually ordered self-destruct, and that was his only option remaining. So Spock would not like to self-destruct.
I don't blame him. Doesn't sound like it'd be a fun time.
No. That's what, really, whenever I watch, that's one of my... Not something like I have actually had nightmares about Course Oblivion and other Star Trek things, but the idea of being on a ship and the captain is ordering the self-destruct, that still scares the shit out of me as maybe like as a practical thing that I feel like that might happen to me someday. Not as much of the sort of existential dread as some of the other Star Trek stuff causes, but yeah, the idea of the captain ordering a self-destruct and hearing that countdown, really, that does a number on me for sure.
But it's also nice to see that they're making sure that that's well known, because the captain's countdown for self-destruct is a tried and true Star Trek method to deal with anything that's outside. Like it's up there with jettisoning the warp core and blowing it up, right? So
sure, and maybe this is the first time we've heard about a captain doing the self-destruct. It doesn't totally count because we don't see like Kirk ordering it and the countdown happening and everything being saved at the last second.
Yeah, but it is once again, like we've talked about the last couple of weeks, is it's that start of the show. We're seeing these trends, really early in.
We're getting little tidbits.
Yeah, well, and like the self-destruct being a thing in episode 1 and it being such a big thing later in the shows. It's fun to see where these things are starting and how quickly they start, because like it feels like I'm already in the middle of a Voyager type level of tropes. You know what I mean?
Little seeds of what is to come. I feel like Kirk might do a big bluffing self-destruction at another point. Like I feel like Kirk is saying, "Okay, self-destruct time." I feel like that's going to happen in the first season.
No, 100%. Especially with how many of our tropes have come up so far.
Yeah,
I totally believe that is a very realistic thing to expect.
I almost feel like it might happen in the Corbinite maneuver, which, for some reason, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I misremember about that one, but we'll see. Yeah, you might like that one a lot.
I'm just quickly glancing at the Memory Alpha page for that because I'm trying to.
I'm not positive.
You mentioned the name, but as usual, I'm bad at the names of episodes,
Well, I don't think it turns out that it's like somebody's kid that is out fucking with them.
No, but there's a photo of Baylock, and Baylock looks familiar, so I think I've seen this.
Well,
I just don't
Baylock
remember it.
He's a Howard. Like Ron Howard.
Oh.
Yeah, he's Ron Howard's brother.
Okay. Ron Howard's been coming up a lot for me, like this
really?
whole week. Yeah, no, it's funny. 2 days ago, we were talking about Ron Howard and how he was in, like, not Dick Van Dyke. What is it? The one with Andrew Griffin, the Andy Griffin show. He was on that.
Oh, okay.
And then, like, we went from one family's house to another, to the other one, like from my family to his family's house. And they had on, they were doing like a Ron Howard marathon. They were watching a bunch of Ron Howard movies back to back to back. Yeah, it's just been a weirdly, anyways, completely unrelated, total tangent. But yeah, no, I think it's gonna end up falling in the same boat that this one was, where when we get to it, I won't remember the episode at all. I've probably seen it, but I don't remember it, and then we'll watch it, and it's. Oh yeah, I remember this and I remember that, the same way that I was today.
I kind of don't think that Kirk calls for self-destruct in that one, but when we were watching the Futurama episode, I was definitely thinking about Baylock.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much. There's also the classic floating green head figures into the Boy, I guess the Corbinite maneuver is the one episode of this series that really stuck out to me. I seem to remember that it was that Howard guy. And when they teleport the black box from that ship to the Enterprise, James Doohan is there. We didn't see him in the man trap, but here he is.
I think this is his first physical appearance in the show that we've gotten to see, and he does not look like James Doohan at all.
He's thin.
It's a lack of facial hair, I swear. Between him being thin and not having any facial hair, and then also being in the wrong colored jersey, like all of that together, because there wasn't a single red shirt in the entire episode either.
And there was the blue and yellow, but it seemed like some guys may have been kind of in gray shirts also. I'm not sure. It could have just been the lighting and the blue shirts, but
It looked like instead of it just being yellow, like there was that yellow and there was a gold. There was a paler peachy yellow almost. You know?
Sort of like a more drab. Like it's almost like the command, like Spock and Kirk I would call that more gold, and then there's more of a drab yellow.
Yeah, that I almost think that drab yellow is more like a tanny peach, honestly, myself.
Okay.
But it's and that's, I think that this is the last episode they did that. I think everything after this one here, they went to the proper tricolor. I was actually reading last week about the costuming for the show and how that changed over. And like season 1, they went through about 3 different types of uniforms before they settled on what they decided to go with for the whole thing. And even that took like a year before they actually made the full change, because it was as they were wearing out type thing they'd replace.
So I feel like almost like the phasers we noticed in this one, we're probably going to see a few different costumes kind of mixed together here and there until we kind of resolve it, if we do.
Yeah.
So the Valiant encountered some kind of storm that swept them out of the edge of the galaxy. And when the Enterprise goes to investigate, they encounter a wall of energy that causes the consoles on the bridge to burst into flame, and everybody's frightened, and a few people on the ship apparently drop dead. And 2 people that are affected, we get a really great, the Dr. Denner, the female doctor that appeared at the beginning. We get a great negative like photo image shot of her where she's zapped, kind of like in a cartoon where someone gets zapped and you can see their skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
But her and Gary Mitchell are zapped. Gary's knocked unconscious. She's a little bit buzzed. And this may have been mentioned just before this encounter, that before the captain of the Valiant ordered the ship to self-destruct, they were doing a lot of investigation into the history of human ESP phenomena. And Dr. Denner mentions that, she's got a little ESP, and as a matter of fact, Gary Mitchell is a high-ranked Esper, which is, a term I don't recall hearing on Star Trek, ever. And
I feel like it was only this one episode it ever came up in.
They may have dropped it, so Gary's got some ESP, and after this encounter, he's got silver eyes made of tinfoil.
Yeah, it looks like a quick glance with Memory Alpha. No, we never actually do come up with Esper ratings ever again. It is only in this one episode.
Really interesting thing to put in the pilot and then never mention again. Humans have an Esper rating.
Well, as it's a very short, entry to begin with on the website, and
it would be.
It's interesting because they've commented that Dr. Elizabeth Denner had a better than average Esper rating at 89. But Gary Mitchell had a higher one of 91, which is deemed well above average. So the 2 of them are only 2 points apart, and that's the difference between better than average and well above average is 2 points.
Interesting. Huh. I wonder where it begins.
I would assume 000, because it is a 3 number. It's 089091, right? So
yeah, I wonder if it's like if you're at like 87, you're totally normal, but like once you go above that gradient, it just gets more and more. It gets, just like in the show, the powers get more exponentially powerful very quickly.
Very, very quickly. Gary Mitchell had already started his transformation within minutes of being hit, if I remember correctly.
Well, immediately after the explosions and the incident, we get a really great long zoom-in close-up of Gary Mitchell's face, and someone was very proud of this effect. And by the way, like, I know it was uncomfortable and terrible, and like, God bless both these actors for dealing with it, but it doesn't look that great.
No, it really didn't. And I mean, I'm sure in the 60s, when, technology and special effects were not at the stage that we're used to nowadays, that it looked amazing. And I remember, like, I like I said, like, as we were watching, I'm remembering more and more of the show. I remember the moment where he's lying there and the eyes turn right at the start, like that first long hold as everything else dims and the eyes glow for a moment.
Yes, that's
Yeah, and I remember that and seeing that and thinking that's really cool. That's really well done. 30 years ago. But no, it does not look. It doesn't hold up nowadays. Unfortunately, we've just gotten too far in our technology.
The world was a bigger place 30 years ago.
Yeah, but no, the way he's doing it with the looking down his nose thing. That was a combination of wanting him to look arrogant and also the things were just.
You can see them moving
they're
around.
Awful.
You can see them moving
awful.
around in his eye, and he can't see out of them.
Almost every time he blinked, they'd be in a new position.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Yeah, and you can see it happen.
Yeah, and
this is the new
that.
HD print. I mean, it is the remastered version of the show we're watching.
Yeah, I cannot imagine having to put up with that. It just feels like it'd be one of the worst things to do.
Oh yeah. So he starts displaying powers, reading really fast, and that's a classic. If you go to visit a friend of yours after an accident has occurred, and they're just like flipping through a book really, really fast, or like scrolling their Kindle really fast, that's the most red flag I can think of for anything. Something bad's gonna happen.
That person needs to go see a doctor who can lock them in a closet and make sure that they are no longer a danger to themselves, let alone everyone else.
But one of the first, real manifestations of his powers is kind of benevolent and beneficial. He tells this guy Kelso, which I almost feel like we might see Kelso here and there. He tells Kelso that a certain battery packs or ignition rods or something are damaged, and if they try to bring the ship to warp, they'll detonate and destroy everyone. And it turns out he's right. Kelso goes and finds these rods and says the tips are burnt off. We have to stop at this unmanned factory planet and steal some of their rods. And almost at the same time, Spock is going, Gary Mitchell's getting extremely powerful. We better drop him off on that planet and leave him there.
That was the surprisingly cold Spock we were talking about.
Yeah, and that's the little meeting they have, and of course Dr. Denner is offended by this because she's probably already, well, first of all, she was one of the people affected in the initial incident, and she's also got a little bit of a connection to Mitchell now because they both have some type of Esper ability, and something very strange is happening to Gary, so she's concerned about it, and that. I mean, I was pretty surprised.
They were making eyes a lot too back in the med bay before that meeting. She and Gary Mitchell were making eyes at each other a fair amount.
I think she liked that she was able to catch him calling her a refrigerator and then call him out and make him apologize to her. She got a little thrill out of that.
Yeah, I think she did.
But real emotionless Spock shit. Like I feel like maybe even they were trying a little hard with we either have to abandon him or kill him right now because he's definitely gonna fuck us all up. He might detect some more broken rods.
I think as well with early Spock, they really wanted to drive home the unfeeling aspect of him. Like you can hear it where he sounds annoyed more than anything else when he's talking
Yes.
in these last couple episodes. It's either nothing or just frustration, right? So it feels like they were really trying to push that as an early setup that, no, this guy is alien. He does not feel, he doesn't know. And I don't think they quite got as unfeeling as I felt like they were trying to get to.
Yeah, they tried to just make him cold and brutal to go over the top.
Yeah, instead of just like with Data. When you look at Data in early TNG, he is actually unfeeling, right? And it's
what
not
a wonderful
cold. It's
character.
not. He's so good.
Oh my gosh.
He's actually cold. He's not cold and brutal and such.
He is the heart of the show.
He really is, and but he is still a being who doesn't have emotion. And I feel like early Spock.
Well, he's like the innocent Data.
Yeah,
Spock
Spock is more just angry all the time and barely controlled rage, whereas early Data is actually unfeeling. And it's a little bit different the way that both actors decide to portray the same level of emotionality, right?
Yeah, totally. And we have, of course, in TOS we haven't explored this yet, but part of Spock's character becomes the idea that he never has quite been totally in control of his emotions, that he always does that. And well, they mentioned his human ancestor, but I mean, part of his character, a big part of what his character becomes is definitely that hint that it is something that he's annoyed with and wants to squash, just like Worf, who was raised by humans, so he wants to be extra Klingon, and Spock wants to be extra Vulcan.
Yeah, I agree. I do feel like a lot of that is there in there, and especially with, like, I think we talked about this before. I'm not sure if it actually was in the podcast now that I'm thinking about it, but anyways, where with Spock having been bullied so much more as a child, and feeling like he really has to step that up, right? Like he can't be weak on it.
Yeah, he despises the part of him that is human, and he doesn't want anyone to see it.
Exactly.
Rough. Poor guy. So we get another away mission, and a nice painted background of this automated factory that they're going to steal their parts from, and a really neat little bit that it's a big painted backdrop with a little doorway down in the corner of the screen, and you can see the little, the actors, walking in, and very small. And I thought it was a really nice drop and a nice touch that I could see tiny actors walking into the building.
Yeah, no, they definitely stepped up with some of the the items, like you said, like the little people walking into the building. The backgrounds were all hand painted and gloriously done. They were
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the map painter on this, I don't know even if I'd be able to find their names to give them proper credit. But whoever was the map painter for this show, or the team that did the map paintings, deserved serious kudos. They did such a good job. Especially in this episode, I think it's been the best one so far for that. I think the sets were just above and beyond in this episode.
Yeah, there was some good looking stuff.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see a prisoner behind a force field, and the whole prisoner force field thing where they hit it once and they're surprised that it exists, and then they get mad and hit it a second time and get hurt. But yeah,
there was glass in the other one. They had like the fake wall. Okay. In the Manzu episode. The man trap, sorry.
Oh, man, but does he get zapped when he touches it?
No, it was just an invisible barrier. It was like a sheet of plexiglass or something.
Okay, but no zapping, because I could be wrong.
No, there was no zapping. It was literally just... If I'm remembering the episode correctly, and I mean, I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, it was just a barrier you couldn't go through. It was just a hard piece of glass.
Okay, yeah. Boy, that would be... I'm already catching things that I think are the first things, but yeah. I could be... Yeah, I don't... Wow. Anyway. I think this is the first time we see a prisoner.
I think you're right. I think you're right. This is the first time we've seen actual force fields, specifically.
I didn't even really think about the fact that we've already had a whole man in a cage episode.
We've had 2 different episodes that are titled similarly. Enough about it. We had the cage, and then we had the man trap.
The man trap.
Oh, who knew early Star Trek would be so focused on men being behind things like that they can't get out of, right? Being caged and trapped, yeah.
It's all a metaphor for the non-existence of free will. So Kirk has a great plan. While we're robbing this automated fuel mining facility that belongs to the Federation, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. That would be even funnier. While we're taking all of their stuff, why don't we rig it to blow? Because, the last guy had to blow up his whole ship. Why don't we just blow up someone else's factory and we'll leave Gary here to get blown up?
It does solve the problem.
Yeah, good thinking, Kirk. It's a lot better than blowing up the ship, and Spock's going to be happy because, Spock's got a boner for murder, I guess, today. However,
I do appreciate that he tempers that out over the series.
Yeah, that's pretty good. He really, like, right away, even when they walk in the room to confront Gary says, well, why don't you do what Spock is thinking about right now? And Spock's thinking, I should just phaser this guy with my old style phaser.
Yeah, he tempers out. He really needed to, and he does.
Angry murder Spock. Yeah. So anyway, this guy Kelso. Actually, we might not see Kelso. Is this the end of Kelso? Kelso rigs up the button to destroy Mitchell. Kirk goes to where he's got Mitchell behind a force field and says, "If you do anything, Kelso's going to press a button in the next room and kill all of us." And I guess Gary couldn't sense that, or maybe Gary got that information from Kirk, or maybe he just knew, because then Kelso gets murdered by a snake.
The way I interpreted it was that he didn't know what specifically Kelso was doing necessarily.
Sure, but Kirk tells him.
But with Kirk telling him, like, he's bringing this place out to blow up, so be good. It came off very, if you don't screw around, we won't blow you up, from Kirk, the way he says it. But I think Mitchell takes it as, we're just going to kill you, screw you. So he then does the killing. But yeah, I don't think he knew about it before that. I think he just extrapolated based off of what Kirk was saying.
Yeah, that's a good read. I like that. And it's not actually a snake, it's a cable or something that's been laying around.
Yeah, it was an electrical cord that's been snipped. It had loose wires and all that.
Yeah, Kelso has made a fucking mess of the place. Such a mess that Scotty compliments him on his thieving ability.
Yeah, he told him basically, like, you've done a good job of stealing everything you needed to get what we needed. Also, like, just, good job. Have accommodation. Oh, wait, you're dead.
When you're out in space in the Kirk era, you smash and grab when you need to.
Honestly, if you're out in space in Star Trek, you smash and grab. Look at every series. There's always a lot of that.
Voyager is lousy with...
There's coffee in that there, Nebula.
Oh, yeah, that's it. But Gary has just grown more and more powerful. He's able to zap through the force field. He zaps Kirk and Spock. And Dr. Denner seems mesmerized with Gary. And it turns out that her eyes have gone silver as well. And I'm not sure if she deactivates the force field, but he's able to leave. I don't think we actually see him and her leave together. I think she turns around, we see her silver eyes, and they cut. So either she deactivates the force field, or it just doesn't matter anymore, because he has achieved his full godlike powers, or at least enough to do however he pleases now, because he's making plants and water grow in the desert.
Yeah, no, I think it was just a cut scene, because sorry, I'm having trouble wording. I apologize. It's also late.
Yeah, it's really, the words have been real. Wow.
It's been a thing.
The words have been floppy all day today, so.
But no, I do agree. I think it was just a case of she didn't have to do it because Gary just could. I feel like, if not, he himself in that moment, in that room, turns it off. When he killed Kelso, he hit the button to turn it off, type thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, at that point, he's just, none of your puny things can hold.
Yeah, he's becoming a god. Everything he wants will be his, and the rest of us can all suck it.
Your puny man technology will not. You cannot hold me in this man trap, this electrical man trap you've devised for me. You will not hold me in the cage. Fuck. So Kirk catches up to him, and he gestures and digs a grave with a gravestone that says James T. Kirk. Oh, it looks like on our first watch of this, we didn't realize that the gravestone actually says James R. Kirk. Because he intends to murder him with a rock. And, yeah, they have a big fight because Denner, now she's got the silver eyes. There's some talking. Kirk is saying free will and absolute power. Oh, he's actually like, Spider-Man, free will. No, wait. Absolute power
responsibility. with great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man. Absolute power corrupts absolutely was like Sun Tzu or something like that.
All right, so he's not quoting Spider-Man, but he does say absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Where is that from now? There is actually a very famous philosopher who said it. I just don't remember which one. Absolute power corrupts absolutely was stated by John Dalberg, Acton, the first Baron.
The first Baron of what?
I don't know, just the first Baron Acton.
The first Baron Acton.
Yeah, so Lord Acton said it in 1857.
Yeah, so hearing that, and there's more. They do a lot of back and forth, Gary and Kirk, about which of them is right. And Kirk is, because Gary is trying to kill him now. Although, I mean, Kirk was noodling about killing Gary, so their biggest crime is threatening to kill each other.
Well, I mean, Kirk mostly seemed to have decided to kill Gary because of Mitchell's comment about, what was it? About being a captain with a soft heart or something like that. Is like the worst kind of captain or whatever.
Yes.
I don't remember the line exactly,
Something
but yeah.
about a captain having compassion and how it wasn't what Gary would think is correct.
Yeah, and that seemed to, when that was said, that seemed to really get under Kirk's skin, and he kind of went on the warpath a little bit.
You want to see how much compassion I don't have for you, motherfucker? Look at my phaser rifle. Is the line?
something like that. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So they ended up having their little fight, and Kirk successfully entombs Mitchell in his own grave, and that immediately was commented on as, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's also a really terrible thing to have happened to somebody in Star Trek. From the question a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
What was it? Which one? Episode 2, yeah.
The worst thing that happens to someone.
Yeah, from the Man Trap episode.
You could materialize, or I guess dematerialize, Earth to create a grave to threaten your friend with underneath a big rock you're going to have fall on him. And then your also godlike girl could zap you, make you lose your powers, and then Captain Kirk could shoot the big rock with a phaser rifle at the same time that he knocks you into the grave, and you could get crushed by all of the rocks in the bottom of the grave.
It's just not fun for anyone, really.
No. A little complicated.
It's just not a good time.
No one's having fun.
No, this whole episode was really not a fun episode for any people.
I actually, earlier around when we were talking about that meeting they were having about killing him, I wrote down this episode is a bit more grim than the Salt Vampire one, which...
Yeah, no, the Salt Vampire one is as awful as the premise was, because it was a pretty, I do not want to live in that universe awful kind of an episode.
No, people are being murdered by an insatiable vampire.
Who's sucking just the salt out of their blood. Like, ew, I cannot imagine that's pleasant. That is still a better fate, I think, than what happens to the characters in this one. I think I'd still rather that than the strange energies that we see here.
Strange energies that drive you mad and then maybe just leave you dead. It's possible that Denner's powers were coming from Gary and that's why she dies, but she seems to just really die. Clear.
The whole fight between Kirk and Mitchell, she's just laying there and looking weak and such. And it was really, really unclear. But as well, really early in the episode, when they do get the power stuff happening, she has said that she got touched by it because she's got the Esper abilities, but it didn't take hold. Whereas he's got the higher powers. He had the highest ones, the highest Esper rating on the ship, which is why it took hold so quickly. So, I mean, especially where they've never reviewed or gone back to dealing with Esper ratings and the implications they're in Star Trek otherwise, it's really hard to figure out what they were meaning and what they were hoping to have happen throughout this whole episode when they're talking about stuff like this, right? And it's really hard to figure out if, like you said, if the powers were hers or if she was just open to Gary's powers,
Yeah.
It's not clear at all.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, because they both get zapped, and it's sort of it kind of seems to me like it just takes longer to develop hers, and maybe just being in the vicinity. But I guess really, I'm just not clear about exactly why she drops dead.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't super clear in the show too, because you weren't even not sure if she was dead either.
When we were watching, I didn't even know it.
Like it was so vague, and it was so unnecessarily vague too.
The scene cuts, and it cuts to Kirk on the ship, and he says, Dr. Denner list Dr. Denner as another casualty of this whole Sarid affair. And I was like, what? What? Did he kill her? What? And you had to tell me she had just died.
Yeah.
Blarg, I'm dead.
Oh, it's all over. It is now my turn to die. Ugh.
Did she actually say that? And I just had tuned out for a second.
No,
but that's basically what happens to her. She just drops dead.
Yeah. It was really, the whole ending of this episode was really vague and really unclear. And frankly, I increasingly think the man trap was the better option for a first episode. At least that one made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made more sense. It was more fun.
There were more fun characters in it.
The writing was clearer and better.
Uhura was there.
We all love a good Uhura. I don't think this is a great episode. I think it's okay, but I do not think it's as good as either Charlie X or as the Man Trap. I think it's the weaker episode. And I think I still prefer The Cage over it too. I really did not super enjoy this one.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. As far as putting an episode on air for people to see for the first time out of what we've seen so far, I think the Man Trap is the correct choice. I think it's the most fun. And
it is. I think the Man Trap is almost the best job of world building for this is what the show's going to be long term.
Yeah. It's a little surprising to me that this one comes out right after Charlie X, and it's almost not as interesting version of Charlie X.
Charlie X was a more interesting character than Gary Mitchell. Mitchell, we don't know anything about him. An accident happens, and he becomes a super powerful being that's an arrogant little shit. But he's not a little shit. He's just a guy who happens to be there, and he's not even making havoc or anything. He's just kind of around. And he's a problem that they got to figure out, what do we do with this giant boulder? Whereas, with Charlie X, he was a pain in the butt. He was actively doing stuff. He felt like he actually had an effect on the episode. He had an effect on the story. I don't feel like Mitchell had much of an effect on the story. I think the episode would have been as about the same without him in it. You know what I mean? As much as that sounds weird because he is the star of the show, so to speak. It didn't do anything for me. I remember thinking partway through that I was kind of bored and is it almost over? Where are we at in it, There's
less nuance to this story. It really is just big guy, or not big guy, but, guy gets big and powerful and gets bad. And does have a big fight. Yeah.
Now, that being said, the writer for this episode, I don't remember seeing his name come up much for later episodes. Yeah. I don't remember seeing his name much on the list in general, so that might be a telling point of it, that, he may not have been a great writer and they gave him the one-off and, okay, cool, we're on TV now, thank you very much, have a great day, right?
Sure.
But yeah, no, I don't think it was... I didn't enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed the other ones we've watched so far. It's not a bad episode, it's just not good. It's mediocre.
Agreed.
So yeah, overall thoughts? Anything you want to add?
You want to know what I'm going to have for dinner?
What are you going to have for dinner?
Whole bag of tater tots.
You need to stop eating tater tots.
I have not eaten tater tots in a year.
And every time you get on them, it's 6 months of nothing but tater tots.
No, that's. I mean, I honestly, I don't think my body will. I don't think my body would allow that.
Not again.
But this is. But today. Yeah, I was built to overeat a couple years ago, and I'm not. My body is not used to that, expecting that, or able to. Yeah, overeat all day.
I've been noticing that with myself too, as I've gotten older. As much as I used to be able to eat 6,000 calories in a day. I'm struggling to get 2,000 in now. It hurts I get full so quickly.
Yeah.
Old age sucks. Don't get old.
I'm alright with it.
I'm not.
I don't
like that my joints hurt. I don't like that I can't eat the way I used to eat.
Yeah.
Not even like the getting fat part, like just not being able to have as much food in a day as I used to be able to. Because like I used to be able to eat a pile of different stuff. Now I've got to be a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm getting used to it. I mean, I've had a little bit more time being real old.
Yeah, but not that much. It's only a few years. It's fine.
But so anyway, my final thoughts were about what I'm going to eat in a little bit, in a few minutes. Do you have any?
Honestly, I think my final thought is just the rating. I'm giving this one here a 6. It's not great. It's not bad. But it's a little bit above a mediocre, like the 5 exact. But I don't think it deserves much more than a 6.
I was going to give it a 5. IMDb gives it a 7.5. Is that
7.7 on IMDb?
7.7. Oh, they go full decimals, huh?
Yeah.
I'll give it a 5.
I think we've mostly just been kind of politely agreeing to do solids or halves. Keep in mind.
Yeah, I think I did a half last week.
IMDb's rating is an average.
Ah.
Because like it's going to be everybody's rating. I think it's like an audience rating. Like people,
sure.
Thousands of people put in their rating, and then it gets the average out of that. So that's why they're the decimals of point. Like it's only the 10th. It doesn't go to 100th. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, and hanging out and watching TV as always. I super appreciate it. This has been fantastic.
Oh man, super duper as always. Thank you so much for doing this whatever we're doing.
Honestly,
we're getting an equilibrium. We're gonna have a structure and a whole thing. Like
one of these days.
We basically do.
Yeah, I mean we've got the framework. We're still doing tweaks. We are trying not to, make too many corrections as necessary.
We're gonna try not to rack them up so that during the week we have to look up a whole list of things.
But at the same time, I do want to be upfront about I am not a Star Trek expert. I don't know everything, and I will do the best I can to be as accurate as I can. But I'm going to miss stuff, and I want to make sure that I take accountability for that. I want to be transparent.
Yeah, I want to be transparent about the fact that I know nothing about anything.
So yeah, next week's episode, as a bit of a quick preview, we will be watching The Naked Time.
Boy. Yeah, it's naked time.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So we will see you guys next week, and thank you for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, cheers, y'all.
All right, so yeah, that was our coverage of Where No Man Has Gone Before. And one last piece of business is the question of the week. The question of the week this week was a bit of a repeat because this week's episode is kind of the same as last week's. So, what is your favorite story, Star Trek or otherwise, that centers on a heavy abuse of power? This can be special powers of a supernatural nature, powers granted by government or authority, or just someone who has achieved false power over others through deft manipulation and assholery. Obviously, I have got Death Note on the mind. So, we talked to Saint about his answer, which was the drumhead. Locke says several come to mind. Cisco has some strong contenders. Oh boy. As do the Borg, but I think I've got to go with Q giving Picard a look at his life without the artificial heart, which is, that's a very interesting episode. A little bit of the Picard backstory there. Exploded Ed says, Final Fantasy XIII is all about how corrupt the system is and the struggles of the main characters to free humanity from their invisible shackles. Locke mentions I have no mouth and I must scream, which is horrifying, and probably already happening. Saint said the drumhead, and what did I say mine was? Oh, my answer is Measure of a Man. I forget the name of the character, but I hate him. Just like motherfucking Jamie Lannister. Was that even? No, that was the other podcast where I was talking about all of the fictional characters that I have a hatred for. So, This week's question of the week is a little bit more fun. It is, if a GIF of you were to become an instantly recognizable meme, what would you be doing in that GIF? The next episode is Naked Time, which of course there is a very famous and instantly recognizable GIF that is a meme of Sulu jumping into the hallway with no shirt on, waving a saber or a whatever type of sword you fence with. A thin fencing sword. Anyway, thank you for listening to The Least Ready Room. That's what's coming up. Come and talk to us on Discord. Find me and all my garbage on koyadk.tv. My other podcast is called Maybe We'll Talk, and you can find it wherever you found this one. I think I have said enough things today. I somehow spent all day doing this. I'm not complaining. Talk to y'all next week. Talk to y'all Thursday. Talk to y'all on Discord. Come say hi, please.